The next type of transformation that we're going to look at after translations are reflections. We think about reflections like we're looking into a mirror and then we see kind of a reverse image of what we would see when we're looking at it. So we can reflect across both the axes and then we can also reflect across some other lines in the plane. So we have some rules with our x and y values that we're going to need to think about with these. So the pre-image is the original image. So we're going to find our original point. So t is going to be at -1, 2. R is at the point 3, 4. And y is at the point 2, 2. So the rule for reflecting across the x-axis is to change the y value to a negative. So we write that notation using the x and y values to show that that works for any point. So on the reflection, when we flip it across the axis, all of the y values will stay the same and the positives will become negatives and the negatives will become positives. So we would have the 3, -4, and then 2 and -2. So when we plot these new points at -1, -2, at 3, -4, let's see if I get the pen to work. It doesn't like to draw little circles, and then 2, -2. And so then we would see that it's the same triangle, it's just been reflected across the x-axis. So this is what you really want to focus on learning and memorizing, are all of these little rules that we're going to talk about here. If we reflect across the y-axis, so all of the points that are on the right side of the graph are going to flip over to the left side. We're going to use the rule, we're going to change the opposite of the x value, and we're going to leave the y value the same. So if you think about it, what we're doing is we're taking all of the x values that were in the first quadrant here, and we're making them negative so they would graph in the second quadrant, and the point t that's in the second quadrant, because the x becomes negative, will graph in the first quadrant. If you kind of think about what you know about graphing in the coordinate plane and where your x and y values are positive and negative, that can help with learning some of these rules. I don't like to say the word memorize. I prefer that you learn them, because if you just memorize them, you'll forget them. All right, so t is at -1, 2. R is at 3, 4. And then y is at the point 2, 2. So this time all of the y values are going to stay the same, and we're going to change the sign to the opposite sign for the x. So -1 becomes +1, 2 stays the same, +3 becomes -3, 4 stays the same, -2, and 2. So plot the points, 1, 2, -3, 4, and -2, 2. We were doing good with those little points until right there. It didn't want to draw that one. And when we connect and sketch in that new triangle, we see that it's just flipped it straight across the y-axis. So reflections across the x and the y-axis are the ones that you're going to see most commonly. But as I said, we can reflect across any line. So there's a couple particular lines that we're going to look at first. You can also, I can reflect across a line y is equal to -2 if I wanted to. It's just we don't commonly do that as much. All right. So we're reflecting across the line y is equal to x. So the line y is equal to x is what we refer to as the identity function. So it's the line where all of the points have the same values. So we would graph a point at 0, 0, at 1, 1, like diagonal line right through the center of the graph. So that's what we're flipping across. And to do that, all we have to do is change the orders of the y and the x values. So again, we're going to use the point -1, 2, 3, 4, and 2, 2. So the first point is going to graph now at 2, -1. R will graph at 4, 3. And then this point 2, 2, if you look at it, it's sitting on that dashed line. So it doesn't actually move because it's already, it's a mirror image of itself, basically. So 2, 2 is going to stay the same. If we plot the points, we're going to be at 2, -1. At 4, 3. And then the point 2, 2 is still going to sit right on top of itself. So we have, it almost looks like a little butterfly. And then we would also have the point y is equal to the opposite of x. I want you to be really careful. We see that minus sign, we want to read it as a negative. It's the opposite because we want to think about we're changing the sign. So you want to be really clear with that distinction in your head. So to reflect across this line, we're going to change the points. They're going to get changed. Y is going to become x, x is going to become y, but in this case we're also going to change the sign of both of those points. So again, we're going to be on the points -1, 2, R is at 3, 4, and y is at 2, 2. So we flip the y to the front, it's going to become -2. The x is going to become a +1. The second point, we switch the order and change the sign, so they're both going to become negative. And then for the second one, it's still going to be -2, -2. So all we have to do on that one is change the sign. So when we plot -2, 1, so to the left 2, and then up 1, -4, -3, and then 2, 2. Sorry, not 2, 2, -2, -2. I got distracted by the little ping on my phone. I usually turn it off, and I didn't. So here's that new picture, and this line, what we're thinking about is it's going to be right here. It's going to have the negative slope and go through the origin. So those are the 4 reflections that you need to learn and know those rules for.